Today we uncover the shocking truth about Boots UK. Britain's most trusted pharmacy has been caught charging the NHS over 900 times the actual cost of medications. They refused to lower morning-after pill prices, claiming it would incentivize inappropriate use, while competitors sold the same pill for half the price. And right now, millions of shoppers are losing Advantage card points they don't even know are expiring. This isn't about one scandal. It's about a carefully designed system that profits from confusion. And today, we're breaking that system wide open. You walk in there habitually, thinking you're entering a trusted health and beauty retailer, but behind those clinical white shelves and friendly pharmacist smiles lies a world of manipulated prices, misleading loyalty schemes, and scandals so severe they caught the attention of 130 MPs and government investigators. This is your ultimate insider guide to 12 secrets Boots hopes you never figure out. Before we dive in, if you believe consumers deserve to know the truth about what they're really paying for, hit that like button right now. Every like pushes this message further into the algorithm, spreading awareness that corporations can't silence. When enough people understand these tactics, they're forced to change. You're not just watching a video, you're part of a movement demanding transparency and fair pricing. Subscribe and turn on notifications because we're exposing more retail giants every single week, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Number 12, the NHS overcharging scandal. This is the big one, and it's the reason you need to understand that Boots' pricing strategies aren't just about retail psychology, they're about systematic exploitation of a healthcare system that millions of people depend on. In 2018, The Times published an investigation that exposed how much Boots was charging the NHS for basic medications through a loophole called specials. Specials are custom-made medications that aren't available as standard licensed products. They're meant for patients with specific needs, like someone who's allergic to a standard ingredient and needs a customized formulation. Because specials aren't regulated the same way as standard drugs, there's no price cap. Boots took full advantage. The Times found that Boots charged the NHS £1,579 for a moisturiser that was available elsewhere for £1.73. Let me repeat that. The same product, £1,579 versus £1.73. That's not a margin. That's over 900 times the cost. It gets worse. Boots charged £3,220 for mouthwash that cost £93 elsewhere. They charged £650 for coconut oil that cost £1 at other suppliers. These weren't isolated incidents. This was a pattern. The Competition and Markets Authority launched an investigation. The findings were damning. Boots and other pharmacy chains had been overcharging the NHS for years, and the total cost ran into tens of millions of pounds. Money that could have funded actual healthcare, money that came from taxpayers, money that was extracted through a regulatory loophole that Boots exploited to an almost unbelievable degree. When confronted, Boots didn't deny the pricing. They defended it by saying specials require custom manufacturing and justify higher costs, but 900 times higher. For a moisturiser that exists as a standard product you can buy for under £2, the math doesn't even try to make sense. This is the same company that positions itself as a trusted healthcare provider, the same company that runs pharmacies inside hospitals, the same company that markets itself as caring about your well-being. And behind the scenes, they were charging the NHS prices so inflated that it borders on theft from the public system. This scandal didn't happen in some distant past. It was recent, it was investigated by authorities, and it revealed what Boots will do when they think no one's watching. They'll take every penny they can get, even if it means bleeding a healthcare system that's already struggling. That's who you're dealing with when you walk through those doors. Number 11, the morning after pill controversy. In 2017, Boots found itself at the center of a scandal that exposed exactly who the company serves when profits and principles collide. At the time, the morning after pill at Boots cost £28.25. Competitors like Superdrug were selling the same pill for around £13.50. Campaigners, including the British Pregnancy Advisory Service, pressured Boots to lower their price to make emergency contraception more accessible. Boots refused, and the reason they gave ignited a firestorm. The company stated that lowering the price would risk incentivizing inappropriate use. Let that sink in. Boots, a pharmacy, suggested that making emergency contraception affordable might encourage women to use it inappropriately. The backlash was immediate and severe. 130 Labour MPs signed a letter condemning Boots' position. Human Rights Watch called it a sexist surcharge. Campaigners accused the company of making moral judgments about women's healthcare decisions instead of focusing on accessibility. The controversy became a national story, and Boots eventually backed down under pressure, reducing the price and apologizing for the language used. But the damage was done. The incident revealed that when Boots had to choose between profit margins and public health access, they chose profit and wrapped it in paternalistic language about appropriate use. No one was suggesting the pill should be free. They were suggesting it should be affordable, especially for women in urgent situations who might not have £28 to spare. Boots could have quietly lowered the price. Instead, they defended the markup with reasoning that implied women couldn't be trusted to make their own healthcare decisions. This wasn't just a pricing issue, it was a values issue, and it showed that beneath the friendly health and beauty branding, Boots operates with the same profit priorities as any other corporation. Your health matters, but their margin matters more. Number 10. Shrinkflation without changing the vibe. You pick up your usual moisturizer or shampoo at Boots, and something feels off, but you can't quite put your finger on it. The bottle looks the same, the packaging has the same design, it sits on the same shelf spot. But it's smaller. This is shrinkflation, and it's one of the quietest ways companies raise prices without customers noticing. Instead of increasing the price, they reduce the amount of product in the package. The price stays the same or inches up slightly, but you're getting significantly less. Your brain remembers the old size and the old price, and when you see the familiar package, you assume you're buying the same thing you always bought. Pack sizes can change over time, and unless you're checking the milliliter count on every purchase, you won't catch it. The bottle shape stays the same to preserve shelf presence and brand recognition. The label design stays consistent. Everything about the product's visual identity is maintained specifically so you don't notice the reduction. Boots isn't unique in doing this. It's an industry-wide practice. But as a retailer that controls both the shelf space and the pricing, they have more ability than most to implement shrinkflation seamlessly. The own brand products can shrink without any announcement. The third-party brands they stock can shrink, and Boots benefits from the price per unit increase without taking any blame. If you want to protect yourself, start checking the volume or weight every time you buy a repeat product. Take a photo of the package details on your phone. Compare it next time. You'll be shocked how often things have quietly gotten smaller while the price stayed the same or went up. It's not your imagination. It's a deliberate strategy to raise revenue without the sticker shock of a visible price increase. Number 9. Clinically proven decoded. Let's talk about No7 because it's Boots' flagship skincare brand, and it's built a reputation on claims like clinically proven and dermatologically tested. These phrases sound medical and scientific. They imply rigorous independent testing and proven results. But here's what those terms legally can and can't mean, and it's a lot less impressive than you think. Clinically proven typically means that some form of study was conducted, often on a small group of people, often funded by the brand itself, and often measuring outcomes that are subjective or based on user perception rather than objective biological markers. If 30 women used a cream for 4 weeks and 70% of them said their skin felt smoother, that can be marketed as clinically proven to improve skin texture. There's no requirement for independent verification, there's no requirement for long-term results, there's no requirement to publish the full study data. The Advertising Standards Authority has rules about what clinically proven can mean, and they've slapped down advertisers who make claims that imply a level of medical efficacy that the evidence doesn't support. But as long as the claim stays vague enough, it's usually allowed. Dermatologically tested is even vaguer. It just means a dermatologist was involved in some capacity during testing. It doesn't mean the product is recommended by dermatologists. It doesn't mean it's better than untested products. It doesn't mean it won't cause reactions. It just means at some point, someone with a dermatology qualification looked at it. When you see these phrases on No. 7 products or any other Boots range, you're seeing marketing language that's designed to sound like science without being held to scientific standards. The products might be perfectly fine, but the implied credibility of those labels is doing more work than the actual evidence behind them. If you want to know whether a product works, look for independent reviews, peer-reviewed published studies, and ingredient transparency. Don't rely on phrases that sound official but mean almost nothing. Number 8. The supplement aisle. If you've ever walked through the vitamins and supplements section at Boots, you've entered the most profitable part of the store, and it's also the section with the least provable outcomes. Supplements are a remarkable product category for retailers. People buy them repeatedly, they're relatively expensive, the margins are high, and the health claims can be extremely soft without crossing into illegal territory. A supplement can promise to support your immune system, boost your energy, or promote healthy skin, and as long as those claims stay vague enough, they're perfectly legal. The issue is that many supplements have limited evidence for the big claims their marketing suggests, and that marketing can significantly outpace what the actual scientific proof supports. The NHS and EFSA, the European Food Safety Authority, have published positions on numerous supplement ingredients, and the conclusions are often far less enthusiastic than what you'd gather from reading the bottle. Some vitamins and minerals are genuinely useful if you have a deficiency, but for the average person eating a reasonably balanced diet, many supplements provide expensive urine and little else. Boots knows this, but the supplement aisle remains prominent, heavily promoted, and staffed with messaging that implies you're making a proactive health choice by buying these products. You're not being poisoned. You're just being sold something with a much bigger profit margin than provable benefit. The real concern is when people substitute supplements for actual medical treatment, or when they take combinations that haven't been studied for interactions. Boots has a responsibility as a pharmacy to ensure customers are informed, but the commercial incentive is to sell as many bottles as possible. That tension doesn't always resolve in favor of the customer's best interest. Number 7. The own brand margin ladder. Walk into the skincare aisle at Boots and you'll notice something interesting. Products are organized into clear tiers. There's the budget own brand range, there's the mid-tier own brand with fancier packaging, and then there's the premium own brand that sits right next to the expensive designer labels. Boots doesn't just sell products, they sell price tiers, and each tier is carefully positioned to capture a different type of customer. The budget tier makes you feel smart for saving money. The mid-tier makes you feel like you're treating yourself without breaking the bank. The premium tier makes you feel like you're getting luxury quality at a fraction of the designer price. But here's what's happening behind the scenes. The profit margins increase as you climb the ladder. The budget range operates on thin margins to draw price-conscious shoppers into the store. The mid-tier products have substantially higher margins because customers perceive them as better quality even when the ingredient differences are minimal. And the premium own brand range has margins that rival or exceed the actual designer products, because Boots has convinced you that you're buying comparable quality for less. In reality, you're often paying nearly as much for a Boots-branded premium product as you would for the real designer version on sale elsewhere. But the in-store presentation makes you feel like you've discovered a secret bargain. This strategy isn't unique to Boots, but they've perfected it. They've created an entire ecosystem where every price point feels justified and every tier feels like a smart choice, when the smartest choice might be to step outside the Boots universe entirely and compare what you're actually getting for your money. The own brand margin ladder is designed to keep you inside Boots' pricing structure, moving between tiers without ever questioning whether the whole system is overpriced to begin with. Number 6. Was now reference pricing. You've seen it 1,000 times. A product with a crossed-out higher price and a lower price underneath. with a label screaming about how much you're saving. This is discount theatre, and the was price is the spell that makes it work. The UK has advertising rules that require prices and discounts not to be misleading, and the Advertising Standards Authority has stepped up guidance and enforcement around these presentations. But here's what the rules actually allow. A retailer can show a was price as long as the product was genuinely available at that higher price for a certain period of time. The problem is that period can be surprisingly short, and the was price might have only existed at a few locations or during a very limited window. Boots can technically sell a moisturiser at £25 for 2 weeks, drop it to £15 and display it as was £25, now £15 for the next 6 months. You see that, and your brain calculates a £10 saving. But the reality is the product has been £15 for most of its shelf life. The £25 price was the anomaly, not the standard. This tactic works because human psychology anchors on the first number we see. Once you've registered that was £25 label, your brain treats £15 as a bargain, even if £15 is what everyone else is charging, or even if it's overpriced at that level. You're not comparing the current price to the actual market, you're comparing it to a reference price that Boots constructed specifically to make the current price look good. Regulators are cracking down on misleading pricing presentations. You can't just slap a crossed-out price on something and call it a deal anymore. But the rules still leave room for creative pricing strategies that benefit the retailer far more than the customer. The next time you see a was now label, ask yourself, when was it actually that was price, and for how long? Most of the time, you won't have an answer, and that's exactly how Boots wants it. Number 5. Price per 100 millilitres camouflage. This is where Boots makes it hard to compare products by design, unless you know the trick that most shoppers completely overlook. UK retailers are required to display unit pricing on shelf labels. That means for every product, there should be a price per 100 millilitres or per 100 grams shown alongside the main price. This is meant to help you compare products fairly, even when they come in different sizes. But here's the problem. Those unit prices are printed in tiny font, tucked into the corner of the label, often in a colour that barely contrasts with the background. You have to actively look for them, and most people don't. They glance at the big bold price and make a snap decision based on that number alone. This is how Boots can sell you a larger bottle that looks like better value but actually costs more per milliliter than the smaller version. Your brain sees a bigger package and assumes economy of scale, but the math doesn't support it. If you want to beat this trick, it's embarrassingly simple. Ignore the headline price. Look at the unit price every single time. Compare the price per 100 millilitres across different sizes and different brands. You'll frequently find that the mid-sized product is cheaper per unit than the large size, or that the premium brand on promotion is actually cheaper per unit than the own brand option. This is how you beat Boots with primary school math. They're counting on you not doing the calculation. Once you start checking unit prices religiously, you'll see how often the obvious choice is actually the expensive choice. Number 4. The points expiry trap. Let's start with something that's affecting millions of Advantage card holders right now, and most of them have absolutely no idea it's happening. If you've had a Boots Advantage card for years, you might remember the old rule. Your points would expire after 2 years of account inactivity. That gave you a decent window to accumulate points and actually use them for something worthwhile. But in 2022, Boots quietly changed that policy. Now, your points expire after just 1 year of no activity. That's a 50% reduction in the time you have to use them. And they didn't exactly shout about this change from the rooftops. Many cardholders lost significant point balances without even realizing the rules had shifted. There's another catch that makes this even worse. You can't use your points to partially pay for items. It's all or nothing. If you've got £3 worth of points and you're buying something for £5, you can't use those points to knock the price down to £2. You either cover the full amount with points or you don't use them at all. This creates a psychological barrier where people hoard points trying to reach a meaningful threshold, But then those points vanish before they hit that target. The system isn't designed to reward loyalty. It's designed to make you think you're being rewarded while the value quietly evaporates in the background. Number 3. The 3 for 2 manipulation. Boots is famous for their 3 for 2 offers. Walk into any store and you'll see those distinctive promotional labels plastered across skincare, cosmetics, vitamins, and haircare products. The pitch sounds simple. Buy 3 items, pay for 2. You're getting 1 completely free. But here's what's actually happening. You didn't walk into Boots planning to buy 3 of anything. The pricing structure is forcing your hand. Retailers use multi-buy mechanics that push basket size, and it's rooted in behavioral psychology. Once you've picked up 2 items, your brain starts hunting for a third to complete the deal, even if you don't need it. The promotion creates its own demand. You end up buying products you wouldn't have considered just to avoid leaving value on the table. The math only works if you genuinely needed all 3 items. If you're buying things just to hit the promotion threshold, you're not saving money, you're spending more than you planned. There's another frustration that Boots customers complain about constantly: stock availability. You'll find 2 items you want that are part of a 3 for 2 deal, but the third option you need is out of stock. The promotion falls apart, and Boots doesn't offer any alternative discount for the incomplete set. You either walk away or you settle for something you don't really want. And here's the final kicker. Many people don't realize that 3 for 2 deals often coincide with price increases on the individual items. The base price gets nudged upward before the promotion starts, so the free item isn't as free as it appears. You're buying 3 products at slightly inflated prices and getting one of those inflated prices waived. The perceived savings are much bigger than the actual savings. Number 2. Loyalty pricing that can mislead. This is where things get interesting, because consumer investigators have actually called Boots out on this one, which conducted an investigation into loyalty pricing schemes at Boots and Superdrug, and what they found should make every Advantage card holder pay attention. They discovered hundreds of loyalty deals that risk being misleading when compared with other prices available. Here's how it works in practice. Boots operates a 2-tier pricing system now. There's the regular price, and there's the Advantage card price. Walk up to a shelf and you'll see 2 numbers, the higher one for people without the card, the lower one for card holders. On the surface, this looks like you're getting rewarded for loyalty, but consumer investigators warned that this pricing structure creates a situation where the non-card holder price might be artificially inflated to make the discount look more impressive than it actually is. You're not necessarily getting a great deal with your card. You're just avoiding a markup that was created specifically to make the card price seem appealing. It's not illegal by default, but it's designed so you have to opt in to what should probably just be the normal price. This ties directly into something that happened in May 2023 that very few people noticed. Boots reduced the Advantage card earning rate from 4 points per pound spent down to 3 points per pound. That's a 25% reduction in earning power. But here's the genius part of how they sold this change. They marketed it as better value through something called Price Advantage. They told customers they were getting improved benefits, when in reality, they'd just cut point accumulation by a quarter. You're getting less, while they're saying you're getting more. That's not a conspiracy theory, that's documented fact. The points are worth less, they expire faster, and the pricing structure makes you feel like you're saving when you might just be paying what the item should have cost in the first place. Number 1. Checkout ambush. You've done your shopping, you've stuck to your list, you're feeling disciplined and ready to pay and leave. Then you hit the checkout queue and suddenly you're surrounded by travel-sized products, chocolate bars, magazine subscriptions, seasonal skincare sets, and miniature versions of things you don't need. This is classic impulse merchandising.
Handset to scan each product's barcode. You need
into a final opportunity to grab extra spending. Retail psychologists have studied this for decades. When you're standing in line, you're tired from shopping, you're slightly bored, and your decision-making willpower is depleted. That's the exact moment when you're most vulnerable to unplanned purchases. The products placed at checkout aren't random. They're specifically chosen for high margins and low commitment. A £2 chocolate bar, a pocket-sized hand cream, a pack of batteries, small enough that you don't feel guilty, profitable enough that it adds up across thousands of transactions daily. The checkout zone is engineered to exploit weak moments, and it works because most people don't even realize they're being targeted. You think you grabbed that lip balm because you needed it. The store knows you grabbed it because it was placed exactly where your eyes would land while you waited. So what do you do with all this information? You start by changing how you shop. If a deal requires a loyalty card or an app, treat it as a different price category entirely. That's not a discount. That's a markup removal. Ignore the headline price and compare unit prices religiously. It's the only way to see what you're actually paying. Be suspicious of vague claims like clinically proven and look for specifics. What was proven, by whom, and where's the published data? If it's a multi-buy offer, ask yourself honestly, would I buy this many at full price? If the answer is no, you're not saving, you're spending. Boots has built an empire on trust, and they violated that trust repeatedly when it suited their profit margins. From overcharging the NHS to patronizing women about emergency contraception, from quietly devaluing your Advantage card points to burying unit prices in microscopic font, every element of their operation is designed to extract maximum revenue while maintaining a friendly, helpful image. You don't have to stop shopping at Boots entirely, but you do have to stop shopping blindly. Read the labels, check the math, question the deals, and most importantly, spread the word. If this video opened your eyes to how Boots really operates, smash that like button and share it with everyone you know. The only way corporations change is when enough people understand their tactics and demand better. Drop a comment telling me which secret shocked you the most, or share your own Boots horror story. There's power in numbers, and every person who learns these tricks is one more person they can't manipulate. Subscribe for more investigations into the retailers and brands that think you're not paying attention. Because we are paying attention, and we're not staying quiet anymore.